Every rebuild hits a moment whether you either add adults or spin your wheels. Is this that moment for the A's? Let's get into it today in a special holiday Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Booney, one name, all passion, no sugarcoating. I'm a lifelong A's fan who has spent the past season covering this team every single day with post-game breakdowns, prospect deep dives, roster decisions, and all the chaos in between. And in the off-season, yes, even during the holidays, we are covering the A's every single day. And I don't show up with corporate talking points or highlight real cliches. I show up with honesty, edge, and the perspective of someone who refuses to let this team be treated like an afterthought. If you want blind optimism, look elsewhere. If you want truth, fire, and a voice that actually cares, welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your A's, every single day. And on this special holiday live edition of Locked On A's is brought to you in part by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. Happy holidays, R.D. Moss. Happy holidays to you, sir. I hope all is well. I hope for those who are watching are having a little eggnog, maybe a little something in that eggnog. But in today's show, let's get to business. Picture this, guys. Late December. The stove is warm. The Padres are pacing their kitchen like a gambler who lost track of how many chips are on the table. And the A's are standing quietly in the corner, hoodie up, arms crossed, watching the chaos. Because when big market teams panic, that's when small market teams strike. And that brings us to the reason this special episode is taking place and all the rumors, trade rumors surrounding Jake Cronenworth. Not the flashiest name, not the loudest bat, but one of the most fascinating pressure points on the entire trade market right now. He's a switch-hitting infielder. Gold Glove reputation earlier in his career. Multiple All-Star appearances. He's under contract for years, for the next 5 years to be exact. And this is the key. Expensive enough at $12.2 million a year that the San Diego Padres may need to blink first. This isn't a rumor mill episode. This isn't sources say the A's are close. This is a possibility episode, a chessboard episode, a what happens when timelines collide episode. Because the A's are trying to build something that lasts. And Cronenworth sits right in the middle of that tension. Could this move actually happen? I'll give you my verdict a little bit later. And why would the Padres make this deal? And if they do make this deal, what would they want in return? It makes complete sense for the Padres to do so. And I will tell you why. First, who is Jake Cronenworth and why would the A's consider him? Oakland said Ricky and his history belongs to them alone. How many teams did Ricky play for? Ricky played for quite a bit. I want to say 6 teams. Off the top of my head, Padres is one of them. Mets, A's, Yankees, Blue Jays. Is that 5 right there? That's 5. Mets, did I say? I said 6 teams he's played with? Someone out there, give me the final verdict. I say 6 teams that Ricky has played with. Back to Jake Cronenworth, guys. The A's brass know their September call-ups aren't enough to compete. What's up, Mark? Happy holidays, Booney. It's been a minute. Appreciate all you do. What the heck are we doing at third base and closer this year? We are pushing January without a lot of answers. Well, I don't know, Mark. And happy holidays to you. I appreciate the comments. Sometimes no answer is the correct answer. And I have stated on many of occasions, the right answer for all of us is to extend the core. Google, it says 9 for Ricky Henderson. Thank you. I believe you. Our number one priority, my number one priority as a fan, and your priority may differ from me, and that's okay. And that's why we're fans. We disagree and we have different expectations on what the team can do. My number one expectation is for them to extend guys like Kurtz, Soderstrom, Wilson, Langoliers. I have said that throughout the offseason. During the season is the most important thing. Now, here's the deal. Here is the deal, Mark. If we do that and we use a Roman Anthony contract as a comp, the bonus money we would have to pay out in Langoliers, Kurtz, Soderstrom, and Wilson would take up exactly just about the entire amount of what the A's could spend this offseason, meaning no free agents, no bullpen help, no second base, no third base, unless we make that move via trade, which could come in Jake Cronenworth. And I'm going to tell you why the Cronenworth trade makes sense. With regard to the bullpen, how do you logically, and here's a question for you guys, I don't know. How do you logically go out there and spend a lot of money for a bullpen guy when right now our bullpen was the best in baseball after the Mason Miller trade? Is that sustainable? I don't know. But I have a hard time. I have a hard time going out, if I'm in the A's shoe, what I'm saying, spending money on a reliever and asking myself, well, who does that reliever replace and how do we get better? Have we done that already this year? Yes. We did that basically by signing Mark Leiter and DFAing Osvaldo Bido. Was that a flashy move? No. Was it a move that made the A's better? Absolutely. No question about it. So, to answer your question, what are we doing with third base and closer this year? I think closer is going to be by committee. And I think third base, Jake Cronenworth, might answer your question as far as what you are looking for. GM David Forst at the winter meetings explicitly named the things that he needed to improve on was starting pitching, relief arms, and third base, second base as top needs. In other words, no established starter manning the hot corner. The one starter I have talked about on several of occasions that I believe the A's can afford, that fits the mold, is a Tyler Mahle from Texas. Tyler Mahle was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball last year in the first 40 games. One of the best ERAs. Went down with an injury. Out most of the year, came back at the end of the year and was impressive like he was in the first year. The only way you're going to be able to sign a Tyler Mahle is if you offer him, his market value right now is 1 year, $6 million, just because of the injury he had. If you go 2 years, $20 million, with year 2 being a player option, that should do it. The delay with regard to the A's and what they are doing so far this offseason, I feel has a lot to do with the contracts they have offered the core. Soderstrom, Wilson, Langoliers, Kurtz. How do I forget him? Mark, what about Chris Bassett? Bring him home. Sure. Problem with Bassett is this. In order to get Bassett to Sacramento, you're looking probably at a 4-year, $80 million deal in order to get into Sacramento. That's a lot, which means in the A's, you got to remember, have approximately 30 to 35 million they could spend this offseason. So what are you sacrificing in order to get a Chris Bassett? Am I saying, hey, don't go after a Chris Bassett? No, not saying that at all. Love Chris Bassett. Loved him when he was with the A's. But I don't think Chris Bassett is a top priority. I think there are other priorities such as the core you need to get and also exploring trades. And why is trades such an important, so important? Well, first and foremost, if you were to use Luis Severino as a comp, the A's right now are approximately spending, what it would take for a free agent to come to Sacramento is about a 40% premium. In other words, Severino on the market last year, his market value was about 3 years, 51 million straight. Well, with the A's, he got 3 years, 66 million, with the third year being a player option, significantly better. This Jake Cronenworth trade makes sense in so many different ways, and I'm going to tell you exactly why up next. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You are not just watching the game, you are reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On A's with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedona's.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, back at you, talking Jake Cronenworth, possible trade with the Padres. Gary, what is happening? Happy holidays, babe. I don't care if we sign a single free agent, including Newcomb. If that money goes towards extending I agree. If that money goes to extending one of the core players, I'm with you. As a fan, that is my priority as well. The core. Now, if we take a deeper look at this Cronenworth trade and why it makes sense, if Jake Cronenworth fits a need, a timeline, and a philosophy, then the story doesn't actually start in Sacramento or Vegas. It starts in San Diego, right? Because teams don't trade solid, dependable veterans unless something is squeezing them. And right now, the Padres aren't making baseball decisions. They're making survival decisions. The Padres spent like contenders last year, and now they're starting to stare at the bill. Sounds like my life. Should the A's help them pay it? Yes, they should. But will they? I don't know. The Padres are in a delicate spot, guys. They love Jake Cronenworth. He's a clubhouse leader, 2-time All-Star, but they love pitching even more. And they're out of wiggle room on the books. Baseball insiders report that San Diego has aggressively been shopping Cronenworth to free up cash for pitchers. In Orlando at the winter meetings, the signals are clear. Cronenworth's name was on every lip as San Diego pressed reset on its roster. As one report puts it, the team is pushing Cronenworth trade talks to fund a pitching revival. Why such urgency? Well, it's a payroll squeeze. Cronenworth is owed approximately 76, no, not even that. He's owed about 61 million through 2030. 60 to 70 million. Offloading him buys room to chase starters or re-sign homegrown arms. They already have Manny Machado at third base. But beyond him, their infield is crowded with prospects. They want to give the prospects a shot. They're kind of going in through this, hey, we could still win now and rebuild at the same time. GM AJ Preller wants pitching upgrades. I think the trade that makes the most sense, let me ask you guys a question, and I'm going to put it up here because this gives you the top 30 prospects in the A's organization. I think a Jeffrey Springs trade, and if you look below me, it's coming up now, our number 8 prospect, Henry Baez, who we got in the Mason Miller deal, and if you continue, the number 16 prospect, Eduardo Nunez, who we also got in the Mason Miller deal, would be a deal that San Diego would take. You're getting a top 10 prospect. You're getting a legitimate starting pitcher who could eat up innings now under team control with a team option in 2027. Getting the exact same salary Cronenworth is, but Springs is only owed money for 1 year. It makes sense. If the Padres choose and Springs ends up having a huge 2026, they could opt that team option and sign him through 2027. It costs him an additional $15 million. Or they could just free himself of that salary, have 2 top 10 prospects, and at the same time, the A's get a proven third baseman for really $12.5 million, $12 million, which is a pretty darn good value if you really take a look at who Cronenworth is. At the same time, it doesn't cost the A's any money. They're offloading $12.5 million in Jeffrey Springs next year and bringing on $12 million in Cronenworth. It's a wash. It's the same thing. They could still have the same money to re-sign the core, extend the core, or go out and get a Tyler Mahle maybe. Sign 2 or 3 of the core to extensions. There is so much more flexibility they have by making that deal. It's a win-win for both organizations. Cronenworth has A written all over him. I agree with you, man. Cronenworth can play first base, second base, shortstop, third base. He could play all the positions. I still think Cronenworth has a lot of good baseball left in him. Is Jeff McNeil a trade candidate? I would take him or Cronenworth, no doubt. Yes. Jeff McNeil is a trade candidate for sure. I don't know the exacts on Jeff McNeil's contract. Forgive me. If someone has that handy, let me know. But I don't have the exact details on McNeil's contract. The big thing is, though, Flea, what do the Mets want? What's his contract for how many years? And I think Cronenworth's younger. If I had to choose between who I want, Jeff McNeil or Cronenworth, it's Cronenworth, no doubt about it. I do too, Thomas. I do too. I like Jeff McNeil a lot. I think he's good. I think he will rebound, and he would add some. He would extend this lineup even deeper than it already is. The thing is, though, he's not a switch hitter. He's 33 years old, as my man Flea said here. Long-term speaking, I like Cronenworth. I think Cronenworth is a win-win for both organizations. Barnett, Kuroda, Grauer for Cronenworth. Thoughts? Yes. I like Joshua Kuroda, Grauer a lot, Gary, but I think you have to give up something to get something. And Joshua Kuroda, Grauer right now is what he is, a prospect. He had a hell of a fall. He had a big-time fall. Barnett, we saw kind of what he was when he got brought up. He got hit hard. I would do that. Prospects are exactly what they are, prospects. And if you have an opportunity to trade a prospect for a proven major leaguer, yeah, I would definitely do that. No question about it. The question is, what does San Diego want in return? The Padres' interest in moving Cronenworth has nothing to do with regret and everything to do with math. Payroll stress, positional redundancy, and a win-now mandate are forcing San Diego to make uncomfortable choices. Cronenworth isn't expendable. He's movable. And that leads to the part that decides everything, the money. Because this trade only works if someone blinks. And next we break down who actually can. I'll see you guys in a second. In the midst of basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The crowd, the energy, the moments you can't get watching from the couch. The only problem, getting tickets used to be a hassle without long queues, logins, and prices changing at checkout. That's why Game Time is such a game changer. It puts the advantage back in the fans' hands and makes scoring great. NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. What stood out immediately was how easy the app is to use. I could see deals, compare prices, and buy tickets in minutes. I love that Game Time shows you the view from your seat before you buy, so there's no surprises when you get to the arena. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Again, code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. San Diego gets money off the books for sure. All right, here we go. Jeff McNeil is under a 4-year, $50 million contract extension with the Nets, signed 23. So covering 23 to 26. So he would want an extension, right? We're not going to trade for him unless we re-sign him. That's the question. How much would he want? So he's almost basically a free agent. And the A's have made this mistake on so many of occasions in the past. And there's two trades I think you old A's fans know who I am talking about. Matt Holliday, John Lester. Matt Holliday, we signed with 1 year left on his contract. Excuse me. Yeah, we traded for. We traded a haul worth of prospects, not asking Matt Holliday, hey, do you want to be in Oakland? He hated Oakland. He wanted no part of Oakland. So we basically had him as a 1-year rental, and he was gone. We made the Cespedes trade for John Lester. John Lester had 1 year left on his contract. In the offseason, he signed a mega deal with the Cubs. Granted, Cespedes would have done the same, but we would have had him for 1 more year of team control. Who knows what would have happened? RD, I would hate to see Brett Harris go to another team and realize his potential. Yeah, I don't think we're going to move Brett Harris. I hope not. At this point, we know why the A's could be interested, and we know why the Padres might be forced to listen. Like you said, Gary, it takes the money off the books. But I don't think the Padres are simply going to get rid of Cronenworth just for a salary dump. They're going to want a haul in return. At the end of the day, you have a former 2-year All-Star. Just 3 years ago, he was an All-Star, I believe it was. 3 or 4 years ago. You have a 2-time All-Star, a guy that can play multiple positions, a team-friendly type of contract. Yes. Does it make sense for the Padres to trade him? Absolutely. Does it make sense for them to give him away? No. It doesn't. It absolutely does not. Fit isn't the problem here. And whether the idea lives or dies comes down to who's willing to pay for the flexibility. What are the A's willing to give up? I guarantee you they have been in trade talks. I think San Diego's asking for the moon. Because I don't think they mind having Cronenworth right now on their roster. But the trade I proposed earlier, I think makes sense. Jeffrey Springs, Henry Baez, Eduardo Nunez. I'd even go another one, Kenya Huggins maybe. As far as prospects, you got 3 top 20 prospects, a top 10 prospect, and a proven left-handed starting pitcher who you have team control over for the next year. For me, that deal makes sense. And the A's are still in a position where not only do they solve their third base needs or middle infield needs, whatever it may be, because Cronenworth can play multiple positions, they get a great clubhouse guy, a good culture guy, a guy that will fit in perfectly when the A's move to Vegas in 2028. He could hit anywhere in the lineup, anywhere from 2 to 7. Switch hitter. Reliable. It makes sense, man. It makes absolute sense. He checks all the he checks all the boxes. If the Padres really want to fund their pitching, this is the move to make. It's $12.5 million off your books. Las Vegas will draw in young players. Golden Knights don't want to move out of Las Vegas. Like I said, this is not a blockbuster type of deal. It's a financial deal. This trade, if it happens, isn't going to wow anybody. But it's a cost-controlled veteran leader. It's a stabilizer for a young roster. It is a bridge to the next competitive window. And crucially, he doesn't force the A's to rush anyone. He buys them time. In other words, you have 3 dependable infielders for I don't know how long. 4, if you start to count Langoliers. Langoliers at catcher. Kurtz at first. You have Wilson at shortstop. You have Cronenworth at third. And when Leo DeVries is ready, I mean, that's an infield that is done for the next 6 years. I'm comfortable with that infield. That is a World Series championship type infield. I wonder if the A's were on the Murakami. Jeez. 2 years, $35 million? I was surprised. I was surprised at the number. I was surprised that the White Sox got him. I hope San Diego is listening. There is a win-win deal brewing. I agree with you, TJ. And I think if I had to guess, I think they have been in talks, but I think the Padres are asking a lot. From insiders who were at the winter meetings, it was like, hey, they want to move Cronenworth, but they're not willing to give away Cronenworth either. I think they want a haul in return. And considering what the A's did to the Padres at the trade deadline, with fleecing them from Leo DeVries, I think they want to return the favor. I don't think the A's should be too stingy. Now, I do want to protect our top 5 prospects. Henry Bolte, Braden Nett. But as far as I'm concerned, Tommy White's on the table. Henry Baez is on the table. Mason Barnett's on the table. Joshua Kuroda-Grauer's on the table. Daniel Susak, he's gone. A lot of those guys are on the table. I'm liking the Cronenworth deal. The more you talk about it, Muncy could then become the super utility infielder. Gary, we still don't know what Muncy is, right? Did Muncy show flashes of being a 250, 260, 25 to 30 home run guy? 100%. He sure did. He sure struck out a lot as well. We don't know what Muncy is. Muncy can still be that superstar. It gives the A's option and flexibility. We kind of know what the ceiling with Darryl Hernandez is, right? He's scrappy. He's going to have tough at-bats. He's going to play a number of positions. He provides speed to a lineup that has zero speed whatsoever. We kind of know what he is. Brett Harris, I'm still curious on what Brett Harris could be, but at the same time, Brett Harris is 27 years old. He's not young. We know what Brett Harris is defensively. But when we're talking about ceiling, I don't think there's a comparison between Muncy and Harris Hernandez. Geloff, I'm still hanging on hope, but yeah, I don't think we can, he's either Mad Max or Bad Max. On Muncy for sure. I don't think we can hold hopes out for Zach Geloff. Jake Cronenworth is a legitimate major league bat. And he is a middle of the order bat at the same time. Like I said, he could hit anywhere in the order. Defensively, he is good. I would say he's a top 10 third baseman defensively. He could play multiple positions. I don't want the A's to be too stingy on this one. Prospects are exactly what they are, prospects. Chances are, there's a chance the team exercises the team option in 2027 for Jeffrey Springs. But right now, Jeffrey Springs is a good Major League Baseball starting pitcher. Again, you got to trade something in order to get something. And I think Cronenworth's that guy you trade for. There's too many holes next year in the infield for the A's. What I mean by this is this. Not holes, more like, well, possibly holes. Question marks. We have Zach Geloff. We have Darryl Hernandez. We have Brett Harris. We have Max Muncy. We have Leo DeVries. There's questions with regard to all of them. Out of those 5, two of those guys need to fill 5 positions. There's not one individual I can say that can fill one of the positions next year. I have hope that Brett Harris can be a guy that hits maybe 15 bombs, hits 250, 260. We've seen what Max Muncy could be in stretches. The only thing we have to go off with regard to Zach Geloff is his glove, which is a Gold Glove caliber. But hitting-wise, the last time we've seen Zach Geloff hit was the second half of 2023. Darryl Hernandez, we know what he is. It's the same thing as like a Max Schumann. We know what they are. They're going to play hard every day. They're going to bring it. They're going to play multiple positions. But can you comfortably say that you are comfortable with 2 of those 5 guys playing either, let's say, third and second base? I'm not. But I am saying you get somebody like Jake Cronenworth, I'm comfortable with him. My A's, what's up, bud? It just feels like we're only going to extend Kurtz to please the fans, but use the rest as trade chips in the future. I fear our mentality won't change much. Well, here's the deal. So, guys, we have to spend. I hate when I say we. I'm not we. The A's. The A's have to spend 30 to 35 million this year to get to that minimum payroll. So if they extend Kurtz, what's that really going to cost the A's this year out of that 30, 35 million? Even if they bump up that bonus, because that's what you're looking at as far as immediate cost this year. You're looking at about $11 million in bonus money that goes to Kurtz. If you go Soderstrom, let's say Soderstrom is 9, for example. Let's say Wilson's 6. And let's say Langoliers is already making $5 million about in arbitration. Let's say you give him another $5-6 million as far as a bonus or to buy out the RBers, whatever the number is. You're at that max. I see what you're saying, my A's. My biggest fear is this, my A's. My biggest fear is we extend Kurtz and we go out and sign guys like Ross Striplee or Alex Wood, like we did 2 years ago. Remember that? Well, we traded for Striplee, but you get what I'm saying. That's my concern. I don't want the A's to just sign guys. And to me, that was who Ha-Seong Kim was. Just a guy. 4 years, $48 million. That's my fear is, my A's. That's my fear. Is not necessarily extending Kurtz. I want that done. Well, what are we going to do with the rest of the money? My fear is extending Kurtz and then spending the rest of it on a 4-year, $48 million deal on somebody like Ha-Seong Kim. And then all of a sudden we haven't done nothing to address Langoliers, Wilson, or Soderstrom. That's my fear. But yeah, we kind of have the same thinking. So they can't just extend Kurtz. They have to use that money. And I've said this on past shows. My initial thought, my initial reaction is that I feel the first time around, the A's lowballed their offers to the core. And that's why there is absolutely zero activity. I think they underestimated the market. And they're like, whoa, Dylan Cease getting 7 years, $210 million? Whoa, 4 years, $48 million is not good enough for Ha-Seong Kim? Whoa, Edwin Diaz, 3 years, $69 million? Whoa, Devin Williams, 3 years, $51 million? I think they underestimated that. It's been expensive. These guys have been going for a lot of money. And I think at this point, the A's have felt like they would have signed somebody. You got to also remember, when you're talking about free agents, you're talking about that 40% premium. Use Luis Severino as a comp. 3 years, $51 million was his value last year. 3 years, $66 million with a player option for 2027. Which I'm sure he's already signed into that, of course. So that's what I feel like is going on this offseason. The Cronenworth trade makes sense. I want Jake Cronenworth. I want the A's to give up what they need to. Anybody outside the top 5, 6, 7 prospects you see. I want the core extended. If they want to give up Jeffrey Springs, that's the best case scenario, because then it's salary swap for salary swap. It's even. You still have that cash to re-sign the core. Now you're looking at Langoliers, Kurtz, DeVries, Wilson, Cronenworth as your infield through 2030. That's how dynasties are built. That's how the culture starts. by guys that played together for a number of years. 72 to 74 started with guys that came up together. That's what I want to see. It's important. It makes sense. Now, all of a sudden, you have Soderstrom, potentially Soderstrom, Denzel, Lawrence Butler, the infield I just described, all signed through 2030, 2031, at least. And you have a young pitching staff that is only getting better. Merry Christmas. So I hope the A's are in talks with the Padres. I hope they're not too worried to give up the right prospects in order to make the right move. Teams that play together, grow together for an extended period of time, win together. It is how togetherness is built. It is how culture is built. It's how winning championships is built. RD, I like it too, man. I like it too. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I have a special episode coming out on Tuesday now on Steven Echeverria, 2023 third round pick out of Milburn High School. His journey. He's another guy that I got penciled in to be in the rotation in 2030, 2031. So I wanted to do this one today. I heard the Cronenworth news. I've been hearing it for a few days, looked into it, got super excited, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On A's. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On A's. We are free and available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. If you follow and subscribe, you will know all the latest episodes and when they are posted. If you want to follow Locked On A's on social media, you can follow on X, Instagram, TikTok, all at Locked On A's. Did Locked On A's make your Spotify Wrap? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our National Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and we will drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, check out Locked On MLB. Your pal Sully will have you updated on all off-season news. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful holiday. I will try to be here on this episode. This show will be up through tomorrow. You got Tuesday, Steven Echeverria. Is Wednesday Christmas? Is that right, guys? 2021, 22. Is Wednesday Christmas? No. Wednesday is Christmas Eve. I'll be on a live show on Wednesday. We'll have our Locked On A's holiday party show special. Take care, guys. Have a good one.